Welcome to Grow Reload. I'm Anthony, and Intel has now talked about their frame rate generation technology in xess, which is going to be now called ExtraSS. I mean, not horrible with the names here, actually, with Intel. Um, but in this, right, this seems to be more of an extrapolation rather than an interpolation to boost the frame rates. And we'll have to see how this actually works in practice. And I'm hoping that um, Hardware Unbox actually goes through and looks at the differences. They do a great job at seeing the differences between the technologies in the same game. But we already had AMD FSR3 and DLSS3, and they've been out for a while, right? DLSS3 has been out for some time already. So now it's kind of looking at FSR3 now has, been announced for a little bit, just I mean, DLSS has been out for a while, but FSR3 is, recently out the last few months and now getting into some games. And now we have here XtraSS. And I will post a link to WCCF's write-up on this because they had a great article on this. And then I've been digging around trying to find out some more information and get more onto it. But this is, one of those things where I think, they've had frame pacing issues with DLSS and FSR, right? Both have updates to kind of get those issues, addressed. But here, you might have a benefit with Intel side with the extrapolation of it. So we'll have to see how this kind of gets, implemented in the games, how this actually, improves, games in general. Like if you want those extra frames and, latencies and everything else, right? Testing is done and needed for that. We just can't, hope for the best here. And especially with whatever a company says, you always take it with a grain of salt because there's a lot of stuff out there. But this is one of those things where I do want to keep on top of some of these technologies. While I would rather have technologies that improve the quality of the game, the graphics quality. I'm a like gaming in 4K, where I can an OLED screen. I like that quality of it. Frame rates are something that a lot of people do enjoy, especially with, you know, um, competitive gaming. And I don't know how, this is going to relate with a competitive gaming side because you also want low latency in that scenario as well. So, for me, right, I'd really enjoy to see a, amazing picture here. We're gonna, increase the being able to render out and get a better clarity of that using AI or whatever else. Better processing, more of the GPU, always keeping the GPU filled, having an AI scheduler, type thing where, hey, if there's a downtime in the GPU, we're going to try to organize that better. There's some stuff like that that I like to see. But with this XtraSS technology, it is open source. It is going to work with whatever GPU you have, according to what I've read so far. So you can, put it on, run it on a 3080, 39, 4090 your AMD card. And this is something I really like to see. Now, if you watched my last video about FSR3 being open source, I said, well, maybe Intel and AMD should kind of work on the same open source project. Maybe at some point this kind of joins up between the two, because looks like to be a different technology than FSR3 was, and if that happens, maybe they can come up with something like an FSR, for an XESS, or XtraSS plus, something like that, you can include both technologies and do them. I don't know if that's going to take a hit on the performance side, but eventually you have to think that there's going to be some hardware that also accelerates this, and improves it. So there's some of these things that I hope, for those of you that that use this, that maybe are on lower on hardware, which, by the way, I could see myself using an FSR or DLSS or an xess if I was on lower hardware. So far, the games I'm playing in my backlog don't require an immense amount of graphics horsepower, right? For me, my 6700 XT is plenty enough to play at the games I want to play. um, if I ever catch up on my backlog, maybe we'll get to some games that have been newer that, won't have that, downside. But, the fact is that Intel is getting out this framework. It's open source, so developers can start using it. I believe it's in the Unity engine, from what I read already, or being worked with the Unity engine. So they already have that out there. So if you're a developer that wants to jump on this technology, you already have that ability to go out there and jump on it, from what I can tell. And maybe I'm wrong there with the date scheduling, but this is all on their graphics research site. And the other nice thing that Intel's been doing, I don't know if you guys have watched the Gamers Nexus video on GPU Busy, but go and take a look at that. That is a great video there of what they're trying to do to make sure that the GPU, GPU is busy, right? And and instead of just sitting there waiting for another instruction and everything else, is the slimmest down version possible. But definitely go look at that, because that's something I've been looking into as well, because it's something that I like to see on the testing side software. Even with I don't have a whole bunch of GPUs, but even something I'm looking at, as if sometime I do get more GPUs to test, is I want to see how these CPUs and GPUs pair together to be able to make sure that we are having, basically a system that doesn't have really a lot of bottlenecks, right? You want to have a really efficient machine, so that, you're not sitting and waiting on, CPU or GPU or whatever else. So with that, I do want to say, if you have any questions or comments on xess, or what you like to see with it, or FSR and everything else, and DLSS all combined here, leave it in comments below. I really enjoy seeing them, and responding to them where appropriate. I mean, it's fun to communicate with you guys through the comments here. And I want to thank you so much for liking, subscribing, sharing the videos, hitting the bell icon. It really does help out the channel, and that's why I'm here, is you guys supporting it and helping it out. So I do thank you a lot for that. And until next time, God bless.